Welcome to the light space, everyone. Let's talk about the road to enlightenment. How spiritually evolved are you? Along the journey to enlightenment, there are several common phases that we all get to before reaching a true place of acceptance and great consciousness. The first phase, you decide to show some commitment to this new interest in spirituality. You read a few books, do some research, and maybe start meditating. A little further down the line, you start to feel quite confident in your new abilities and knowledge, almost to the point of cockiness. You might even find yourself babbling unrequested esoteric tangents to people who have shown barely any interest in the subject, just to show off your new wisdom. It's all good though. The road to enlightenment is an exciting journey to be on, and gaining new awareness is very empowering. It's only natural that we might get carried away from time to time. Even further down the line, you will start to reach a more darker side to your journey. You start to realize that many of the new things you've learned completely contradict what you were taught growing up. This can be pretty scary and confusing. You might even feel like you're losing your mind at times. You feel unsure what to believe at this point, and begin to feel isolated, realizing that there aren't many people on this journey with you. A little further, you can even become mad at the world, angered at the people who have been feeding lies to society, trapping them in invisible prisons. This is the end of the illusion and the beginning of your first true taste of freedom. It's on the other side of this huge realization that the greatest phase of enlightenment comes. I'll explain it to you this way. When I started out on my journey, I read many books, watched endless seminars, and attended various spiritual gatherings. I became very proud of my new knowledge at first, but eventually the more and more I read, the more I started to realize just how little I actually know. And even if I were to read every book that had ever been written, I would still only know a minute fraction of what actually is. This is true enlightenment. You know just how little you actually know. More the knowledge, less of the ego. Less of the knowledge, more the ego. That was Einstein. Some of the most ignorant and dangerous people in the world think they know it all. The smartest and wisest people in the world know they know nothing. When you reach this wonderful point along your journey, you will be washed over with acceptance and humility. You see things in a totally new light, as if through the eyes of a child again. I remember standing back in awe and saying, wow, this really is an incredible universe we live in, and whoever or whatever created all of this is clearly infinitely more intelligent and wiser than I am. Don't let this discourage you in any way. There is always a great deal to learn. Even the wisest spiritual teachers in the world are still learning. Expansion never ends. That's amazing. Imagine how depressing it would be if you reached a point where you knew everything about everything with no more chance for growth. Growth is fun, and who doesn't like having fun? Success is not a destination, it's journey. I'm sure you've all heard that one before. Remember that we are always growing, so don't get too comfortable. One thing that I noticed along my path is that very few spiritual travelers actually reach this advanced state of consciousness during their evolution. How evolved you've become is really down to how good of a student you are, and what your level of dedication is like. It's one thing to read a book on spirituality, but to then make a conscious and consistent effort to implement the teachings in the book until they become a solid part of your being, that is the true challenge that separates some from others. I used to think that once I'd learned something new or read a book, that was it. It was in my head, done. But practice and continuous effort is what allows you to go from being a student to the master. Have you ever noticed that many advanced spiritual teachers in the world have an almost innocent childlike quality about them? A truly sincere and playful nature. When you realize just how little you know, you reconnect with your inner child and realize the monumental importance of joy and happiness. You start to take suffering and conflict less seriously. You let go of the resistance and say, it is what it is. Now that I have accepted it, I can change it. I hope you continue along your journey wherever you are, and remember, it only gets more fun the further you go. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.